Hello. So last week I showed you how you can build a unique tea light candle holder, and I promised that this week I'll show you how I made this shelf. So stick around for that. And then next week I'm planning on doing a different version of this riser using scraps of 2x4 as well. So you don't want to miss that one. So if you watched the video from last week, this scene here might look familiar to you. And basically I just realized you can have a wall art using the 2x4, just laying them out in random patterns. So to start off, I'm cutting off the rounded edges of the 2x4 to get a straight edge on all sides of the 2x4. I'm using two pieces of wood that are about 19 inches long. Well, that's the goal, to have them to have the shelf at 19 inches wide, and the height and the depth are just based on our standard 2x4. I didn't change the depth of it. On another project that I'll be working on next week, I will be altering the width of the 2x4 to get it down to the size that's needed for that project. So check that out if you're interested next week. If you've seen a couple of my other recent videos, you will find this familiar. I am using it to create grooves on the top part of the shelf, as you will see there. So I just measured approximately 2.5 inches from one side to make the groove on the board. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the goal is to make the shelf a 19-inch wide shelf. So I'm cutting off the excess from both sides of the board so I get a clean squared edge on both sides. And in case you're wondering why 19, well, I thought it would be easier to find the center of the board. Maybe not. Actually, any size above 16 inch, at least an inch above 16 inch will be just fine, because I intend to attach this to two studs, and the studs in my house are 16 inches on center, so I'm making sure I have enough room to add the keyhole that I'll be adding to it later on, so that I can hang it to the wall on the studs. If you're interested in the setup bar, the tool I'm using there, you can check out this video. I'll put a link to it in the description, where I show a close-up of how I'm using it. So in order to ensure that the keys sit in the slot well, I'm going for 1.5 inch depth. So this step is optional. I just added magnets because I had them handy, but it adds additional spots to hold the keys, and I will use those for keys that I use a lot, on a regular basis. It's easy to grab them and go, and to put them back, you just make sure you're using a metal that is magnetic on the keychain to hang it back. So just in case you're curious, I'm using a little piece of freezer paper there to hold the clamp onto the magnet whilst it dries. This glue dries pretty quickly. I just wanted to make sure that the glue does not go on the clamp, and the freezer paper just works out just fine. So from this point, I believe everything else is self-explanatory, or should be clear, I hope. If you do have any questions, do leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. But I'm using the Craig jig there to add pocket holes that I'll use to attach the back and the top of the shelf together using Craig screws. I'm using 2.5-inch screws, and then once they attach together, I sanded it, and then I stained it, and then I'll explain the process I used to hang it onto the studs. As I mentioned earlier, I'll explain a little bit on the process I'm using to hang it onto the wall. So I've already screwed in one of the screws. I'm actually using a self-drilling screws, and I've already attached one of the screws to one of the studs that I found using a stud finder. And then I'm using this Ryobi laser level. It's really handy, and I don't know if you noticed there, but it's just a push pin that you use to hold it in place, and it has levels for either horizontal or vertical depending on how you're using it. And this is the bottom. It also has a suction that you can use depending on the material that you're trying to find a straight line for. It also has a magnet in the middle there, if you're using it on a magnetic surface. It's really handy. It's quite small and really handy. You can just throw it in your pocket. But that's how I was able to hang this up straight. Adding the wire or string light to it is optional, totally optional, but I think it will come in handy. Plus, it adds a decorative look to it. On one of the videos where I used the string lights, someone had suggested using hot glue to hold the string lights onto the wood, and that's what I'm doing here. I think it works out just fine. Thank you, Nikki V or Vi. Hope I'm saying it right. And that's it. I hope this inspires you to go and build one like this, or even one better than this. And please share what you build with us here and let us cheer you on. So here's just a quick example of something similar. This is just a key holder. It does not have the top shelf, but they're asking for $43.28. You could ask for a little bit more or ask for $45. It's up to you how much you want to ask, provided you're able to market it well. Good luck, and I wish you all the best. Remember, all you need is just a little bit of faith and some DIY action to tackle any DIY project. Until the next video, stay blessed, and I hope you have a tangible experience of God's love. See you in the next video.